Tom West. Well, y'all already know that. This is Isaiah.
Elijah.
What? That's all right.
Elijah, I was thinking about somebody else actually. And Caitlin. All right, so here we go. Who has bad credit right now? All right, don't be afraid to say it. Got bad credit. Who has no credit? No credit. No credit history. All right, so check it out. No credit history is bad. There's a big and bad credit is bad, right? So when you're first starting out with credit, whenever I was released from prison, I had bad credit. Because you got to imagine, I had everything going for me up until that point, right? And then when I'm in prison, how do I pay my bills, right? So everything just goes into default and all that stuff, right? The worst thing that you can do with bad credit is file bankruptcy, all right? That's an absolutely no-no, all right? The only thing bankruptcy would be used for is, let's say if I have a house and I want to keep it, right? But I've lost my job, and let's just say you were making $100,000 a year, now I'm making $50,000 a year, I can't pay for the house and all this extra stuff. If I want to keep the house, then that would be an option. But bankruptcy is completely bad, right? It's the worst thing that you can ever do, is because it's going to follow you for the next 10 years. You can't get away from it. It's always going to be there. It's going to be on your credit report. Now, everything else, let's just say I defaulted on a car loan, right? Has anybody defaulted on a car loan before? All right. Default. What about a credit card? All right. What about past due payments? All right. All these things put negative impacts on your credit report. Now, you can do these things yourself. All right, I like kind of taking the easy road because I've got so much stuff going on. There's credit companies out there like creditpros.com and stuff of that nature, and that's who I went with. And then I went with another one. It's called like Westfield or some crap like that. But anyways, there's credit companies out there that promote what they do as credit repair. That's not technically what they're doing. All they're doing is attacking their credit companies with garbage, okay? So, and what I mean by that is, and you can do this yourself, who's ever signed up for Credit Karma? All right? There's an option on Credit Karma to write to see if that credit is valid, right? So if somebody's talking shit on your credit report and says, oh, you didn't make this payment or this or that and the other and yada, 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 you can submit paperwork that says prove it, right? Now, if there's any like false information on your credit report, and what I mean by that is misspelling, anything. You can fight it. You can fight things on your credit report for absolutely nothing, right? And it doesn't matter. You can just say, hey, it wasn't me, and you can hit them with so much paperwork that finally they're going to drop it off because they get tired of responding. So the creditor, all right, now this is what has to happen. The creditor who's ever reporting that to the credit companies, right, they have to file a response. Right? So if I write the credit bureau, all right, which is going to be Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, right? Those are the three credit reporting companies in the country, right? So if I write them and say that this isn't correct, all right, then what they have to do, that creditor has to file a response to it, right? So eventually they're going to get tired of filing these responses and they're just going to give up. The moment they give up, it has to come off your credit report, all right? So whenever I got out of prison, I probably had 15 negative things on my credit report, right? And I hired credit pros and I just started attacking all these things, just sending them garbage. I would just say, it's not me, I didn't take out this credit card, I didn't have this car loan, blah, 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 blah. And you can do that on everything from negative comments, because those hurt you, all right? Repossessions, those hurt you. Anything negative on the credit report, and then a draw on your credit report. That's when somebody checks your your credit in a hard hit. Now you can fight all these things, and if they're not responding, they're going to drop them off your credit report. So when I got out of prison, I had about 15 things that were all negative on my credit report, and not to mention hard hits, right? Well, I just attacked everything on there, and I paid Credit Pros to do that. I think it was like $100 a month. It's not that expensive, you know what I mean? And in the meantime, I'm working. I was saving money to start a business and get my feet on the ground and everything else, but this is $100 that I was putting towards that. Not only did I do that one, I did another one. So I was using 2 credit repair companies at one time. That way I was sending just absolute garbage, all right, to the Experian, Equifax, and all that stuff, so that I was forcing these credit companies to respond to it, right? The more garbage you send to them, the faster these things are going to get knocked off your credit report. Anything that's a negative hit on your credit report, if I don't respond to it, here's the deal behind it. If there's no response to it, they have 7 years that they can file negatively on your credit report, all right? Hard hits last 2 years. So if somebody checks your credit, it's going to be on there 2 years before it falls off. These are all things that you don't want on there. So I just started attacking every bit of it, right? Within a year to a year and a half, every bit of it was on my credit report, off of it. And then I was stuck in the position like you're in, all right? I don't have any credit, right? Having no credit is bad too, all right? And I'll get into some things about things that you can do for your children. All right, you guys got kids? All right, one day you're gonna have kids. All right, so the greatest thing that you can do for a child is they're gonna have a 10 to 15 year work history by the time they're 18 years old. That is golden, okay? Now I've also taken out credit cards in all my kids' name. Now a lot of people say, man, is that illegal? No. Okay, so what I've done is I've added them as authorized users to my credit companies, right? My credit cards. So they have a credit card with their name on it, right? So I've had to use their social security number and everything for that to add them as an authorized user to my account. Now I use their credit cards more than I use mine. All right, there's a reason for that, because now I'm showing that they're using credit. All right, and now we're going to get, and so what that's going to do is by the time they're 18 years old, they're going to have an 850 credit score. All right, absolutely perfect. They've never been late on a payment because I never allowed that to happen. All right, and then I've always paid the credit card off way before it ever became due. All right, so it's never accrued any interest. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in credit and all this extra stuff. Everybody thinks you got to have some type of money on a credit card and leave it on there. That is the worst concept in the world, and I don't even know how we've got to that, but everybody in here has heard that, right? You got to leave a little bit of money on it to show that you're using it. Mm-hmm. Who are you showing that you're using? That's the question. Can anybody answer that?
You just got to keep it open.
Yes.
So like for us, we had a Best Buy card.
Did you use it?
We had used it and we paid it off. Well, it sat with a zero balance long enough
They're gonna cancel.
that we get a call that says, or an email that says, hey, we're going to cancel it. Well, that was our longest standing credit card that affected our credit age. So if they had done that, it was going to ding us on that.
Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt you.
So I went and bought a Kindle and now I'm
There
good
you
for
go.
a year, you know?
Well, no. All right. So that's another misconception. Okay. So this is the secret to building credit, right? And this is what you got to understand. All right. Credit is a tool that you can use to do anything in the world. All right. Now, how do I have an 850 credit score? Does anybody in here have an 850 credit score?
I'm close, but not quite there.
All right. This is how you obtain an 850 credit score. It's actually kind of simple. The misconception in the world is that you use a credit card and leave a little bit on it so that your creditor, the credit companies, can see that you're using it. That's the biggest misconception, and this is why. Is because the credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they don't care that you're using the credit card. All right, credit all right, and your credit score and everything else, and the way you get high dollar amounts. All right, when you're approved for a credit card, what's the highest, what's your credit limit on your highest credit card?
30.
30,000? What's your highest?
18.
What's your highest?
1,000.
What's your highest?
1,000.
What's your highest?
I haven't had one.
What's your highest?
Like 25.
All right. So here's the reason why it doesn't go up. All right. You could have a credit limit right now of $100,000 in a year. So could you. All right. Or more. I think my credit limit between all my cars is about 1.25 million. All right. So that's called credit worthiness. And this is the misconception right here. Is everybody thinks that you got to have money on the credit card to show the credit card company that you're using it and yada, yada, yada. It's the worst thing that you can ever do. All right, any dollar amount left on a credit card is bad. All right, the biggest thing is to use it and pay it off right away. All right, within that week. So the way I regulate my cards is I cycle, I use all my cards. I have a black card. Does anybody know what a black card is? All right, it is absolutely unlimited. All right, this is what a black card looks like.
And it's metal.
And it's metal. All right, that is a black card. All right, so this is an unlimited card. I could buy anything in the world. I could go buy a Bugatti right now.
Show me how to get it real quick.
But I could go buy anything in the world with that, right? So you have to be picked to get one of them cards. You have to spend X amount of dollars throughout a period of years and constantly do that and yada, yada, yada. So here's what I do. And this is what everybody should do. All right, the biggest thing is you want cash back. There, and I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that used Amex, and he made a six-figure salary a year using an Amex card. This was his entire job. This was an experiment, and it was actually in Forbes. All right, so anybody read Forbes magazine? All right, so I read Forbes. It's a lot about money and how to make money work for you and all this extra stuff. So this is an experiment that this guy did. Is he started using Amex, right? Now with Amex, you get a lot of cash back depending on where you shop at. On groceries, you get 4.5% cash back. Has anybody ever seen that before? All right, cash back is a real thing. Right now, I average about $20,000 a year in cash back because I spend a lot of money. You got to understand, I operate 7 different companies. We're spending a lot of money. My entire life operates off credit cards. I have a debit card, but I don't use it. All right, the only time I ever use a debit card is if I absolutely have to have cash and I go to an ATM. That is it. All right, I don't use my debit card for anything. If I could pay my mortgage with a credit card, I would. I use it for absolutely everything. Gas, toothpaste, whatever. Food. I just bought our pizza, $200 for the pizza, all right, on a credit card. All right, I pay my utilities with a credit card. Everything gets paid with a credit card. If I could pay a car note with a credit card, I do. Everything gets paid by a credit card. Now, every Monday, I pay my credit cards off to 0. So I absolutely owe none on them. Now, who's seeing that I'm using these credit cards? My credit company, right? Amex, all right, MasterCard, Visa, they're seeing that I'm using it, all right? Now, we'll carry on from there in a second, but this dude, he got an Amex card, right? Now, Amex, a platinum card, it's the best thing that you can have. It's not necessarily a credit card, so you need to get a credit card too. Everybody in this room should have at least 3 credit cards, and you should use all 3 of them periodically all week long for everything, every single purchase that you're doing. You should never use a debit card or cash for anything if you don't have to, all right? So, an Amex card is a charge card. You have 45 days to pay it off before it hits you with an interest charge. All right. Now the interest charge on a charge card is very expensive. All right. But on Amex, you get more cash back. That's the reason why I use it more than anything. All right. Because you get more cash back on it. Now, they base your credit limit on what you spend. So when you first, and you can't be afraid of things. So whenever you first get an Amex card, there's a $750 annual fee. So you're just eating $750 a year. But if you're using the card for its intended purpose, you're going to get that money in cash back anyways. So you're not losing anything. All right. So once you start using the Amex card, if you're using it for everything in your daily life, they usually set you off. There's no preset limit, but there is secretly. So they usually set you off at like 5,000 or somewhere in there, and then you start using it. Now, if you're paying it off every week, they gradually increase that, right? So they continue to increase it, continue to increase it, continue to increase it, and continue to increase it. Now, what this guy did is he continued to do that, but he didn't work a regular job. He would get up in the morning and he would go to grocery stores and he would use his Amex card to buy gift cards at Kroger's, Publix, everything else. He's buying the expensive ones, $500, $100. He would buy the entire store out, right? So you got to think, if I spent $10,000, all right, at Kroger's on groceries, because I'm at a grocery store, right? They're giving me 4.5% back on that. What's 4.5% of $10,000?
Good chunk.
$450. All right. Now, let's say he buys in a day, you know, he spends $20,000 on gift cards. All right. The gift card itself only costs you $1, right? So if I buy the $500 ones and I buy 10,000, all right, so that means I got $20 extra in the card because you can't tax that, right? So there's no tax on the gift card, right? Because I'm just putting money on card. So they charge you $1 for the card. He pays $10 extra, so he's got $10,000 and $10 in it, and he gets $450 cash back on this, right? So then he goes home and he scratches all the cards off. And then he uses the debit card to pay off the American Express card. So now he's minus $10. So now he just went out and bought $10,000 worth of gift cards, got 4.5% cash back off of it, and he made $440. Boom. All right. But he was doing $50,000 to $100,000 a day in gift cards. He would spend 2 hours driving around all these grocery stores, buying all these gift cards, and he'd spend another couple hours using the gift cards to pay off the credit card. All right. This guy, all right, he would do this during the week, all right, and on and off. He wouldn't spend every day that he's got doing it, right? But he would take big chunks of his time during the week and do this. This was his full-time job. This guy was averaging $2,000 a week in cash back off American Express from going and buying gift cards and then paying them off the same day. You could literally still do this. This still exists. You could get, and this was an experiment that he did to see if it would work. And he averaged a little over $100,000 in a year, and he spent about 20 hours a week buying gift cards and then paying off his credit cards. Well, simple concept. So everybody in here could go make a 6-figure salary today just by doing that. That is crazy, is it not? But you could literally do it. So if you had nothing else to do and you wanted that to be your job, you could make $2,000 a week, and you could probably make more than that if you dedicated all your time to it. You know, if you did 10 hours a day of buying gift cards and then 10 hours the next day of paying it off, and just did this all day long, every day as your full-time 50-hour-a-week job, you could do $200,000 a year.
It would get what certain credit cards though?
Amex.
So it can only be Amex.
No, it could be other ones, but Amex offers you want more bang for your
You
buck.
want the cash back one?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking is because, I've tried before when I was younger to go to Walmart, buy gift cards on a credit card, and they're like, no, you can't do that. Transaction declined.
You can. I buy gift cards all the time on the Amex card. Yep, if I go in and buy somebody for their birthday or some shit like that, go do
Okay, I'm gonna try it again.
it. Yep, go do it.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
Bye, CPD.
Yeah. The only things you can't buy with a credit card or even a debit card is like lottery tickets and shit like that. It's all gotta be cash. But yeah, debit card, the prepaid debit cards, pay for it with a credit card. Yep, I do it all the time. All right, so
And if you buy them at Kroger's, you get fuel points.
yeah, all right, but Amex, the only reason, well, the Amex offers the highest percentage of cash back, right? So, but you can get all kinds of different cash back cards, right? But you gotta read what, and see, only on grocery is what it offers 4.5% cash back. That's why he wouldn't buy from Walmart, all right? He would go to grocery stores, Publix, Schnucks, Piggly Wiggly, all these places. That's where he buys gift cards at because it's a grocery store, all right, and it would ring up as grocery, all right. So that's what Amex sees it as. They don't see that you're buying a gift card, all right, because you're paying a grocery store for grocery. So every time it would ring up grocery, he'd get 4.5% cash back on it. So like you just answered the question, all right, you pay if he bought, 20, all right, $500 gift cards, all right, that's $20 minus 450, that's 10,000, all right, so he made $430, and you could do that in a couple hours, $430, all right, free money, right? So, but here's the concept behind everything. So, again, back to this misconception that you have to leave money on your credit on a credit card at the end of the month so Experian and all them can see it. That's a total misconception. That's a lie. All right. One of the things that we're so used to is conformity, and I talked about y'all that later. Everybody, we got taught to stand in a line when we were in school, raise our hand, and everything else. These are things that were drilled into our head, so we don't know anything other than that. I mean, we're taught all these things as a kid. All these things about credit, we've been taught as a kid. You're taught these things at school. Oh, leave a little bit on it. Do this, do that. All that's a lie. So at the end of the day, the only thing that Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian do is report. That's it. The IRS says you got a job, they report that. You know what I mean? They say this is where you live at, they report that. When you pull your credit report, it says all these things on there. Your address, where you work at, all this extra stuff, what loans you got out, and all this extra crap. That's all they do is report. All right? There's a couple of different, I'll jump around a little bit to some different topics. There's different forms of credit. All right? There's revolving credit. All right? That would be a credit card, right? That's the best type of credit out there. All right, then you have expiring credit. Expiring credit is a house, a car, and all that stuff. That's bad credit. All right, anything that expires is bad. You experience that. Okay, we're gonna cancel your credit card. All right, credit is based off your worthiness. Whenever you buy a house, the typical house runs $200,000 to $300,000. So when I buy a house and this house gets added to my credit report, my credit worthiness just went up $200,000 or $300,000. So you see how your credit score jumps when you buy that house? It's because my credit worthiness went up. That's how much my credit is worth, right? So your credit is worth a dollar amount. So you got to remember that, all right? So the dollar amount is where your credit score comes from. Right? And then there's also some other factors in there. If you've got too many hard hits on it, if you've got any negative remarks on there, and if there's any money on the credit card, all right? The credit card is your biggest thing, right? Now, you don't want things to expire because whenever you pay a house off, your credit score drops, all right? Whenever you pay a car off, your credit score drops. If you get a credit card canceled, your credit score drops. So, at the end of the day, if credit is based off a dollar amount, how do I get the dollar amount to go up? All right, it's by using the card. All right, and that's what everybody has got to do. All right, the more, and you can build. Now, I did an experiment with this. I wouldn't necessarily say experiment because I knew how to do it, but a friend of mine named Tommy Dunn, you know who Tommy is?
Yep.
Tommy filed bankruptcy. Worst thing that he ever did in his life, but he didn't know me then, right? So he filed bankruptcy, but he was getting towards the end of it. He'd got a Discover card, right? And he's like, oh, I'm leaving a little bit on. I was like, no, that's the stupidest thing you can ever do. I said, start using it for everything, all right? The smartest thing that anybody in here can ever do is take your debit card and throw it in a trash can. Cut it up, throw it away. Never use it. The only time a debit card should ever be used is if you need to take money out of a bank account. Now you gotta be smart with the credit card. You can't use this card to live outside your means, okay? Now a lot of people, oh, I'll go buy this TV and I'll make payments on it. Bad. If you can't afford the TV, don't buy the TV, all right? There's no point in that because now I'm ruining my credit, all right? Anytime you allow something to sit on a credit card, you're ruining your credit, all right? The credit card, you use it, I pay mine off every Monday. Now, and I know this sounds like a big number, but we got a lot of businesses we're operating, right? So on general, like we do about $200,000 to $300,000 in sales a week, all right? So if you add and subtract that, all right, about 150 to 225,000 of that is going out the door. All right, so that's in me paying salaries and parts and everything else that's got to do with operating multiple businesses, right? Now, everything that we purchase is purchased on a credit card. Now, I've got to buy this anyways, right? I'm gonna have to buy it. You know, when I was working on her Jeep, I had to buy stuff for it, all right? So I'm putting it on a credit card right away, you know? Now, she's gonna pay her bill, right? So she's gonna end up paying me back for whatever I bought on it, right? So every Monday, and this is a revolving door because we got people drop their car off here, then they pick it up here, and yada, yada, yada. So there's always money coming into the bank account, right? Just like anybody here that's working a job, you have money coming into your bank account. And again, we can't live outside our means. So if we're gonna buy something, we got to know that we can pay it off at the end of the week. If you're going to, you know, buy gas, use a credit card. If you're gonna buy food, use a credit card. All right, if you're gonna pay a bill, use a credit card. Y'all got a light bill over there at that house you're living in?
Yeah.
What do you pay it with?
Debit card.
Wrong. All right. CEMC, all these companies, you know, down here, you can pay it all with a credit card. I know that because I do. Okay. All that should be paid with a credit card. All right. And you're not in, and sometimes they'll say, oh, we charge 3% extra if you use a credit card. 3% on that, it's not a lot. Right. So, but 9 times out of 10, you don't have to pay 3%. If I go to a gas station, they don't charge me 3% to buy gas. You know what I mean? There's none of that. It's going to be the same thing no matter what I pay with it with, right? If I go to the gas station, I buy some food, y'all go grocery shopping, whatever you buy, use the credit card, right? Now, I just pick Mondays. Mondays are my day to be paid, right? So at the end of the week, you know, Friday, I pay all the employees, and then we collect money on Friday and Saturday and all that stuff for stuff coming in. And then Monday I pay all the credit cards. And then after I get through paying the credit cards, I get to suffer and see what I made in, right? Usually it's a low dollar amount, right? Because I just paid everything off. So, but at the end of the day, what am I doing? I'm liquidating those cards to zero. Now, here's what the credit company, the 3 bureaus, my card always remains at zero. But the thing, if American Express is giving me 4.5% cash back, all right, and they're giving me money, right? They're giving me money to use their card. What are they getting in return from me?
The interest rate.
But if I'm not allowing them to charge me interest,
Yeah.
hey, we got food. Go ahead and bring it right over here. We'll take it right here. If I'm not allowing them to charge me interest because I'm paying it off every Monday, what does American Express do? they extend my credit line, right? They want me to spend the money, right? So they want me to leave a dollar amount on there so they can charge me interest, because that's how the credit company makes money. All right, and that's why we've got this misconception in the world that we have to leave a certain dollar amount on the credit card so that way the credit companies show that we're using credit, right? That's a misconception funneled in by American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and all this extra stuff to make us leave money on it so that they can charge us interest. But I don't want to pay interest, because if I'm paying interest, then I'm losing money. Thank you. Hey, we can go ahead and get us a plate. We got some plates back here. We'll eat while we talk. If I'm not paying interest, right, what they do is they continue to increase my credit limit. Now, you remember when I was telling you about credit worthiness? All right, that's how much I'm worth, right? So the more I'm worth, all right, the higher my credit score is going to go up. Now, here's the other things about the more that you're worth. The higher your credit score goes up, and the more that I'm worth, all right, the more easy it is for me to walk into a bank and say, hey, I want to start a business, give me $300,000, right? They're going to give it to me, all right? Because I'm worth, if my credit worthiness, like mine is up to about 1.25 million right now. So if my credit worthiness is 1.25 million and I want a loan, they're going to give it to me, all right? Who in here, I went and bought a Lamborghini, all right? How do you get financed for a Lamborghini? All right? I don't pay myself. That's another thing too. I don't pay myself. Do I have a work history? Sure. All right, because I have to file taxes on my business, right? So it says I'm employed by this company, right? So I'm employed, but whenever they ask me for my taxes to see what I made, it made nothing. All right, because I didn't pay myself anything. All right, but my credit worthiness is 1.25 million. All right, so when I went to apply for this loan for this Lamborghini, I didn't pay cash for it. All right, I paid like $70,000 down, and then I was like, hey, finance the rest. All right, Lamborghini cost $300,000. Right, I think now I owe $160,000 on this car. Right, so I went in there, they approved right away. All right, because my credit worthiness is so high, right? So, but the way we get it high is do what? Use a credit card, all right? So we need to start off with one. That's what everybody in this room needs to do. So if you've got bad credit, that's the first thing that we need to fix. If you have no credit, such as in your situation, all right, we can try to apply for a credit card, right? Let's just say we get approved for $300. That's a start. That's better than when I started. All right. Now you need to start taking that card and using it all the time. When I was talking about Tommy, all right, he had, let's get some pizza real quick. Everybody feel their face while I continue to talk, all right? I'm hungry too. And y'all better eat. Get up here and eat. I gotta call this guy back real quick. They'll own their own company one day.
Oh,
All right. The only way you're gonna do that is if you're worth money. All right, that's it. All right. Anybody ever heard of a small business loan? SBA. All right. An SBA 7, you got to be in business for 2 years. And how the hell can I get a business loan? All right, to start a business if I ain't been in business yet, right? You got to show 2 years of tax return to get anything from the Small Business Association. Everybody thinks that they can just go get a small business loan, and it ain't happening. All right. There's cool things that you can do though. So, we'll get into that a little bit. Back to Tommy, and then we'll get into how to trick the banks and all kinds of other shit, right? Trick around it. Tommy filed bankruptcy, and he just got a credit card. He's towards the end of his bankruptcy. He wants to get his life back together and yada, yada, yada. He told me, oh man, I'm doing it right. It just ain't doing nothing, man. I'm still at $3,000 on my credit card. And I'm like, yeah, what are you not doing right? He's like, well, I buy something, I leave a little bit of money on there. It's never going up. I was like, that's the problem. You're doing it wrong. So I said, pay it off. Start using it for everything, all right? Add your wife as an account holder, okay? She doesn't need to use a debit card, all right? She's your wife, all right? Y'all share money, right? Yeah, well, she needs to have a credit card too. So add her as an account holder. Don't use the credit card for anything that you can't pay off at the end of the week, all right? So you use it for everything that you're gonna basically buy, right? And I said, give it 30 days. I said, use this concept, pay it off. You got 4 weeks of payments, right? Pay it off every Monday, Friday, I don't give a damn. Pick a day, whichever day works for you. Whenever you get a paycheck, yada, 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 pay the credit card off immediately. He used this concept. Within 30 days, he got a $5,000 credit limit, all right? On to his 3. So it went up to $8,000 within 30 days of him doing exactly what I'm telling y'all to do, right? So then, within 90 days, he was at $15,000 credit limit. All right. The whole reason why they keep adding more money to it is because now they can't charge him interest. All right. And they're giving him cash back. So they don't want to give you money. All right. So they're going to continue to give him more money. I'm going to show you all an example of that. We're going to get into one of my business cards. American Express, I have 10 different accounts with American Express. It separates through the businesses, right? So, one cool thing American Express does, on the Platinum card, there's no preset limit, so you can't really see it, right? So, but let's take this one right here. I'm gonna show everybody this. So, it's not Monday, I ain't paid off the card yet. Again, we spend a lot of money, right? You said this is a Business Plus card.
Yeah.
You see it says I got a $4,000 spending limit.
Yeah.
Right? Does everybody see that? It says a $4,000 spending limit, right? $4,000. All right? And look how much my balance is right now.
Yeah.
All right? I'm already over my balance, right? How am I over my balance if I only got a $4,000 spending limit?
Yeah.
Right? That's because that spending limit doesn't matter anymore. That was set there when I first opened up this card. All right. Now, if we go down to more details, all right, it tells me my credit limit is $4,000. Right now, my available credit is negative $8,000. So that means that I've got $12,000 on this card, but look how much I'm spending on it. Since April 13th, I spent $51,000 on this card. Recent payments and credits, $47,000, right? So then there's this thing down here that says check spending power, right? So my available credit right now is negative $8,000, right? A $4,000 spending limit. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
All right. Now look, there's this thing down here that I can hit check spending power. Enter expected purchase amount, right? Let's just say another $5,000. Now I'm already over my thing, $8,000. Submit. Damn! I was just approved for another $5,000, all right, on top of the negative $8,000 that I'm on, right? So, and this will just keep going, right? So, and that's because that spending limit is no longer there anymore, right? Because of the process that I'm telling you, every single Monday, I pay off the credit cards, right? So, on the other cards, you know, on Platinum cards, so here's a business Platinum card, right? And then here's like my personal Platinum card and all that stuff, right? So if you get on these, you can do the same thing, but these right here, if you look, it says no preset spending limit. None of these have preset spending limits. I got tons of them, right? So I got tons of different cards. Now on these, the cool thing about these, let's go into more details. You can just, the more you use these, the more they're gonna give you, right? So, and then they just keep on going with it, right? So I just asked if I could spend $100,000 on that card, right? $100,000 on that card. I'm approved immediately. There you go. You got it, all right? But that's because I spend so much on that card, right? Let's try another one. All right, well, it's not letting me check this other one. But that's all right. But you get the concept of it though, right? So the more you spend, and look, every one of them, so this one says it's got a credit limit of 4,600, but it's, and then I can check the spending limit, right? So that's exactly how this crap works. Now, on other ones, let's just say we go into Chase, right? Now, these are credit cards. These are actual credit cards. Now, that Amex that had that spending limit on it, that is a credit card, right? The platinum cards and the black cards aren't credit cards, all right? Those are charge cards, so they're a little bit different. The way that they work is a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing. The credit card is actually better in hindsight that it reports an actual credit limit, all right? The charge cards don't, even though I can spend so much on it, right? They don't report a credit limit because it says no preset spending limit, right? So that, in that aspect of the ratio, it's not really that good, right? But Amex is really good for business. It's really good for cash back and all that stuff, right? But in order to get my credit score to go up, I've got to have a card that's going to report a credit limit on it, right? So like, I like Chase, like Business, Preferred, Inc. Those are really good cards, right? So they have higher spending limits on it. The higher, and that's what you want. So you want to get with a card company, and you can research this, all right? So I tell all of y'all, please research your cards before you apply for them, right? Even if you get a low limit on it, research the card that you're applying for, all right? You kind of want to stay away from cards like credit cards, all right, that have annual balances on them, all right? That's where they charge you an annual fee, right? Amex charges a $750 annual fee. I use it because it's got the highest cash back out there, but we use that for the business, right? And then a lot of cards like Chase, they don't charge an annual fee, right? So with that being said, I'm not losing any money whatsoever. Having the card, I'm not losing any money. But again, we want to have high credit worthiness. High credit worthiness is obtained by how much they're willing to extend to you, right? So the higher extension of money that I got, the better off that I am, the higher my credit score is going to be, the higher my credit worthiness, the more likely I am to be able to go out here and buy whatever I want. All right. But again, we have to be smart about this. All right. Chase has really good balances. Now this one, you can see there's no payment due. All right. But my statement as of April 9th, I'd owed $47,000 on it, right? So I use this card right here to make big purchases, right? So if I'm gonna buy a big piece of machinery, if I'm gonna buy, I just recently bought a transmission from Rudy's that was $16,000 for a customer's transmission, right? So when I'm making big purchases like this, I'll use this card, right? I use that for a reason, right? So the more bigger purchases I use, and I got a bunch of cards like these. So the bigger the purchases I make, the more money they're going to continue to extend to me. Now I paid this card right off right away because APR is expensive as shit, right? So, but this card right here, available credit right now is $54,000. There's a $0 balance on it. So this one card is worth $54,000. That's the price of a new card. Right? So I could go buy a new car with this card. And I've got about 5 or 6 of them that are $50,000 credit limit cards, right? So whenever you have big cards like this, that they continue to add up, right? So that's when I was talking about that credit worthiness, that's all these cards combined, right? And then I have a line of credit. So the line of credit is on my credit filing too. So I have a $250,000 line of credit. That's for, and now that's because I'm in business, right? So as you get in business and stuff of that nature and your credit worthiness continues to go up, I can file with my bank. So my line of credit is through F&M Bank, right? So I have a $250,000 line of credit with F&M Bank. Now, the interest on this isn't really that bad, right? So a line of credit, whenever you have good credit, interest really isn't that bad. So here's what I would use that for. And I use it, right? For the car lot, right? Let's say if I need to go buy a bunch of cars, right? Or I buy a rental property. That's what I use it for a lot with, right? So, or I buy a house that I'm gonna flip, all right? This is where big money comes into play at, all right? So let's say I buy a flip house, right? And I go in and this person's got this house over here and it's fucked up, right? Excuse my language. But I can go over here and buy this house. I can say, hey, I'm gonna give you $75,000, get out. I mean, this thing is trash, right? It needs a lot of work. But comps in the neighborhood are $300,000. They just live like junkies and there's rats and crap everywhere. You know how hoarders are. This house is trashed, right? But I can go in and I can get this house for $75,000. The comps in the neighborhood are $300,000, right? Now, whenever you in auctions, so you go to auctions and stuff of that nature where they're auctioning houses off and stuff of that nature, that's where a line of credit comes in. But the line of credit is going to come from where? You building your credit score up, right? And we're building our credit score up by using credit cards, right? So a lot of people ask me all the time, Tom, how do you do all these things? How have you made money, right? It's how I'm making money. I'm using other people's money to make money. Now this line of credit isn't my money, right? It's the bank's money. They're just extending that to me to say, hey, here's you a line of credit if you need to go buy something, yada, yada, yada. Now I could be silly with this money and go buy me a new car and crap, right? And now I'm paying interest on the card. So the cool thing about a line of credit is I only got to pay interest on it. I don't have to pay back the initial balance. It's not a loan, okay? So on a $250,000 line of credit, I think if I was to use the whole thing, I'd probably be paying about $2,500 a month in interest, right? So $2,500 a month in interest on $250,000, that's not a lot. That's only 10%, right? So it's not a ton of money, all right? But they're extending me $250,000. So again, if I look over at this dude's house, he's got it for, I go to auction, I win the bid at $75,000. Comps in the neighborhood are $300,000. This is how you make money, okay? I buy the house, right? Now you can't take out a loan at an auction. I can't say, oh, I'm gonna go get a loan. You have to have the money right away, right? So I buy it at auction for $75,000, auction fees and everything else, I think I walk away with it at $80,000. So now I just took $80,000 from this line of credit and dumped it on this house. Now it needs this, that, the other, yada, yada, yada. Now, I've got a contractor that'll come in. I pay the contractor, I'm not doing nothing, right? So I tell the contractor, hey, and this contractor for me, he does absolutely everything for me. He remodels all my houses. You saw what he did to my house.
Yeah.
How beautiful is my house?
It's beautiful.
All right, I bought an old farmhouse, he remodeled it. I'm talking about painted the roof, outside of the house. He changed the floor pans, put bathrooms upstairs,
beautiful.
everything. I mean, this dude does it all the electricity, everything. He comes in, has a crew comes in, and he's fast too. So he remodeled my house in 60 days, right? And this was changing the floor plan, putting bathrooms upstairs, everything. So whenever I'm going in to buy a house that just needs to be remodeled, I'm not having to do that. So he can be in and out of a house like this in 2 weeks, 30 days to 2 weeks, right? So I go in, I buy this house for $75,000, I got 80 in it after auction fees, and then I pay him $40,000 to remodel this home. So now I got 120 in it. Comps are what, 300 in that neighborhood? So now I got 120 in it. I pay my realtor to jump on it, all this extra stuff. Next thing I know, after realtor fees and everything, I got 150 in it, right? He sells it for 300. I put 300,000 in my pocket, right? Now, I've had this line of credit out. I pay, if I only use 150 of it, I'm not paying 2,500, but let's just say if I use the whole 250,000, right? And let's just up this house, right? I've got 250,000 I use on my line of credit, and I've had it for a month. They charged me 2,500, but let's say if I use the whole thing and this house actually sold for $500,000, all right? Now I've paid them back 2,500, and I just made $250,000, and I used none of my money. I used theirs the whole time, and they just let me borrow it for $2,500.
That's pretty
right? All right. So that's how you make money. That's what a lot of people don't see. Oh, I gotta have this. I gotta have that. Yada yada yada. No, I use the credit card concept from the get-go. All right, to build my credit, right? And now once I had this credit worthiness, I went to the bank and said, hey, I need a line of credit. What do you need the line of credit for? Well, I'm gonna buy a house. I'm gonna do flip houses. I'm gonna do this. At the end of the day, it really don't matter. They don't care. All right, because my credit worthiness is so high, they're going to give it to me anyways. Let's say I want it higher than that. Let's say you own a couple of vehicles, right? So collateral counts. So the more that I can give the bank and say, hey, I got this, that, and the other, blah, 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 give me a line of credit. They're going to do it, right? They're going to give me this line of credit, and you can do it for more than that, right? That's just one simple process that I do it on, right? Is flip houses, right? Let's just say with the car lot, I want to buy cars. I want to buy your truck. All right. I go over there and take the line of credit and say, give me this amount of money, and I go buy all these cars, and then I fix them, and then I flip them, and I pay them a small percentage of interest to use their money to buy all these cars, and then I sell them next month for double of what I got into them, and then I pay them back their small percentage. I use none of my money. None. I'm using somebody else's money to make money, to put money in my pocket.
You don't have to pay back the full amount?
No, I mean, I'm paying it back, right? So again, so follow me. Let's just say we're working with $10, all right? They charge me per month, per 30 days. Now, if I take out that $10, I'm gonna have to pay for 30 days right away, all right? Whether I pay it back in one day or I take the whole 30 days to pay it back. So they're charging me $1 to use this $10. All right, but let's say if I use this $10, all right, and then I buy some things with it, and then I take that $10 that I bought some things with, and I get paid $20 for it, right? And it takes me 10 days to do that. I take that $10 that I borrowed from them, and I turn it into $20. And they charged me $1 to use their $10. All right. So now I pay them back $11. So I pay them their $10 plus the $1. How much money I got in my pocket?
No.
And whose money did I use?
There's. Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's the concept that I'm using. Now, on that line of credit, now we're just talking a whole lot more money than $10.
Yeah.
Right? So, because if I go to an auction for a house, that's how all these people, that's how big time real estate investors make all this money. Whenever you're seeing these people say, oh, I'm flipping houses, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, how are you doing this? Because the conception is people don't understand, all right, I don't have to have the money to do it. I just use somebody else's money to do it. All right, the bank is who's going to give you the money. All right, and the way to the bank is through credit. All right, and you have to build your credit. So that's why I started this whole series that we're going to be doing on the first thing that has to happen is I've got to build my credit first. And the way I build my credit is through a credit card. There's a process to this, but the process doesn't take that long. That's what a lot of people, oh, it's going to take me forever to do this and yada, yada, yada. No, it's not. It's not. It starts today. Whenever you get home, you need to apply for a credit card. Even if they only offer you $300. And sometimes, being that you ain't got no credit, they're going to say, we'll give you a prepaid card. I started with a prepaid card because, listen, I didn't have any credit, all right, and everything that was on my credit report was negative anyways, and I just knocked it all off. So now I don't have a credit history. So now if you got a 10-year credit history, that means a lot too. That adds points to your score, right? So the longer the credit history, all right, these are all contributing factors to your score. But the main factor to your credit score is how much you're worth, right? How much you're worth is the main factor. All right, so the more you're worth, the higher your credit score is going to go up. And the higher your credit score goes up and the more you're worth, the more the banks are going to want to fuck with you. I've got people that call me all day long. You know this. You know this. People call me all day long. And look, forgive me, but I'll tell them, go kill yourself. I hate them, all right? But they call me and they're like, hey, Tom, we see you're doing so great. Let me give you some money. I got people that call me all day long trying to give me money.
Wow.
And I'm like, I got money, bro. Use our money. All right? Because they see what I'm doing with it, right? Because I'm making moves with other people's money to make money, right? And then they're making money off of it, right? So again, whenever I first started, my credit score was fucked up and all this extra shit. I rebuilt my credit, and then I had to go get credit, right? So the first company that I had was Capital One. I still got my Capital One card, still on my profile. I don't use it anymore, you know. Every once in a while I'll do, so they don't do what? Cancel it, all right? But my credit limit on this Capital One card is $5,100. $5,100, that ain't shit, but that's where I started at, right? And originally, when I first got that card, it was a prepaid card. That I gave them $1,000, and they gave me an $1,100 credit limit. But I had to give them $1,000.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a secured card, right? So they ain't losing no matter what, right? The money's there, right? But I gave them $1,000, so it could have been $300, and they gave me a $400 credit limit. They're only going to give me $100 over, right? But I could afford $1,000 at that time, so I gave them $1,000. They gave me an $1,100 credit limit, and I started using that motherfucker like it was my debit card. Everything, bubble gum, shampoo, whatever, didn't care, gas, everything in the car, yada yada yada, paid off at the end of the week. And then I just kept doing that. Then they gave me my $1,000 back. One morning I woke up and I checked the account, and I was negative in that motherfucker. Because now I'm building my credit back, right? So now I don't have to have the secured card anymore, so they refunded me my $1,000. And then my credit limit just kept going up. And once it kept going up, but I started applying for other cards. Because now that I'm building a credit history and shit like that, now I can go get a Chase card. Now I can go get the high dollar cards, right? So then I started working on them, right? And then started giving more. The worst thing that you can do is have hits on your credit report. Here's how to get past those. Let me get a piece of pizza real quick. All right. So let's say I want to let's say I just want to get some money right now so that I can start making some moves, right? My credit score, first thing, your credit's got to be good to do this, right? And not crazy good. Let's say I got a 700 credit score. I've established some credit history. I've got a couple credit cards, doing my thing. I go get an LLC, all right? You can apply for an LLC right downtown. It don't cost you shit, all right? I can be a private, you don't even have to be a LLC, you can be a sole proprietor. But I can go get a business license downtown, and I think, what do you pay, like 30 bucks? All right?
Yeah, it's not much.
So I can go downtown and get me a business license right now. So and I don't even have to have a business, all right? I could go in there and say, hey, I'm on a business license for Blowjobs R Us, right? Doesn't matter, all right? Now, the cool thing would be is to get an LLC. So now I'm a limited liability company, all right? And I open that company against my credit, right? Cool. So now I got an LLC. So and I got decent credit, got a 700 credit score. I go into Bank of America, and I want to do one credit draw, all right? Now I can apply for as much stuff as I want to on one credit draw with one bank, right? So I go in there and say, we're gonna do one credit hit. I got an LLC. I'm a business owner now, right? So I'm not gonna go in and talk to the little bullshit lady up at the damn counter, right? They're gonna pull me over here to the side, and now I'm a business owner and yada, yada, yada. Even though I just opened this business, it ain't even nothing. Now, here's the cool thing. Don't record this, all right?